Hello everyone, welcome back to GED skill builds for Borderlands 3. Oh man, the more this game shows me, the more I'm excited. Today we're going to do a Amara build called the Go Pound Sand build, and it's basically, as you can imagine, the pound skill surrounded by a bunch of melee abilities. So this is for all you bruisers out there that want to be up close and personal and just destroy faces. We're going to start in her Brawl Tree, of course, the green tree. And her first ability is Phase Slam. Amara leaps into the air and slams to the ground, dealing damage and knocking enemies upwards. I think the CC of this skill is absolutely amazing in terms of just jumping into the fray and knocking people around. It's like a literal cannonball of amazingness. So we'll put this in slot 1. Her first row, Root to Rise. Amara gains max health. Well, that's pretty short and simple, isn't it? Personal space. Amara's weapon shots deal bonus damage based on their distance to the target. The closer the target, the greater the bonus. Guys, you're going to be up close and personal in this build, and look at the base bonus. 12%, up to 24, up to 36, up to 36% damage. That is amazing for a first tier row skill. So 3 points in that, of course. And then the third one, we have Clarity. Amara constantly regenerates health. The lower the health, the more powerful the regeneration. After using the action skill, it's doubled. Personally, I feel that regeneration is not as useful as maximum. So we're going 2 points into maximum health for an extra 16%. The more health you have, the more of a buffer you have, and health regeneration in Borderlands is usually pretty slow. So unless you're hiding, which you're not going to be doing in a brawler build, I would go max health. Second row, we have Arms Deal. Amara deals increased splash damage and takes reduced splash damage. Alright, so it synergizes with our ult and grenades. Samsara. Whenever Amara deals damage to an enemy with her action skill, she adds a stack of Samsara. For every stack, Amara gains gun damage and health regeneration. So for every time you just hit people with slam, or if you hit a group of enemies with slam, you get damage and health regeneration. Thus, actually better than the first row. Helping Hands. For a few seconds after using her action skill, Amara's arm remains active and gains her damage reduction. So since this middle skill is only 3 points, yes, we want extra gun damage and regeneration after we ground slam people. Look at that, 5% and 5% per enemy damage. That's crazy good. And then our remaining 2 points are going to be dumped into more damage reduction. Guys, you're going to be up close and personal with this build. You want to be able to survive because you're getting shot in the face a lot. The fourth little augment over here is Blight Tiger, converts it to corrosive damage. I mean, you might as well take it, right? Because corrosive is amazing, unless you have a lot of plus shock damage for your basic, but corrosive is actually pretty good in Borderlands in general. Eats through armor like crazy. Third row, Fracture, our first new skill. Amara summons a line of fists that erupt from the ground. So it's basically just a line attack. I don't think this really synergizes too well with a brawler build. You want to be leaping at the enemy. You want to be going into the fight, so I would ignore this one. Mindfulness. Whenever Amara takes damage, she gains a stack of Mindfulness. For every stack of Mindfulness, she gains improved shield regeneration delay and movement speed. Movement speed, shield regeneration delay? Oh, that's so good. Find your center. Amara gains increased melee damage. Okay, so when you melee stuff, you melee hard. Additionally, after using your action skill, you gained increased melee range, so you're hitting them farther away. Guys, 1 point. Have to take it, right? Kill skill. Killing an enemy with Amara's action skill gains increased movement speed. Movement speed's alright. It helps a little bit with a brawler build, right? And then we have an augment, Revelation. Amara's action skill now creates a Nova when it damages enemies, dealing damage to everyone around her. So it actually reduces the action skill primary damage, but it does make the area of effect a lot bigger. So I would say, for now, if you hit this level, you would want to slot that. We still have 4 points to use, so we're going to go back and we're going to buff Mindfulness. up to max, right? So you get shield regeneration and movement speed and after you use your action skill. And then with vigor, you're just moving a little bit faster, and that unlocks the next row. In the fourth row, we have Downfall. Amara leaps into the air and shoots an elemental beam, Kamehameha all the way, and then slams as well. Yeah, guys, why wouldn't you want to shoot a beam and then slam on top of it? That seems pretty dang amazing. Again, pounding the enemies into the sand 7 feet under. One with Nature is the only ability in this row. Amara gains max health, elemental damage resistance, and to her action skill Element. So really it only applies to corrosive damage right now, but still the max health is going to ensure your survival. And then you have max health up here, so you have a lot of extra health and damage reduction. Fifth row, we're coming to a close here on the green tree. Do unto others. Whenever an enemy damages Amara, she automatically throws an energy orb back at them, dealing her elemental skill damage. Automatic shots fired. 1 point. Guys, you can't pass it up. Immediately get it. You're basically throwing corrosive bolts out, right? Because your elemental skill right now is corrosive. Jab Cross. Whenever Amara deals melee damage to an enemy, she gains increased action skill damage and her gun damage for a few seconds. It's kind of tricky to use because you gotta melee someone before you slam to get that, but it's theoretically okay. Guardian Angel. When Amara enters Fight for Your Life, she immediately gains second wind. That's all I have to say. Enough. Guardian Angel. It just basically restores you after you go down immediately. That's super good. Brawler never dies. It's almost better than Flack's Pet Revive. It's super good. So you gotta spend 3 more points to get to the next row in this tree. Here we come to wherever your personal choice kind of comes into play. If you want a little bit of health regeneration, yeah. If you want a little bit more splash damage on your fist powers, I would say yeah. It also works on like grenades and rocket launchers, right? And then if you're gonna melee someone before you do your ultimate, you could get this. I find this one would be a little bit more hard to use, but we're gonna take it, and I'll show you why in the next tree here. 3 points. The next and ultimate ability is a melee override Blitz. When you're aiming at an enemy, you will dash a short distance and perform a special melee strike, dealing elemental melee damage. If Blitz kills an enemy, it is immediately reset. So you are the Wrecking Ball. The Wrecking Ball, and you're just dashing around, hitting people with your increased melee damage. You're buffing your action skill, and then you're running faster. You're regenerating your shields. You're jumping up Kamehameha slamming for corrosive damage that's melting faces. That's actually really, really cool. I like Amara's skill trees. They seem to make her pretty dang amazing. But now we come to a problem. We have 22 points left over. Where are we going to put them? I think we're going to go over here to the red tree. Because we have corrosive damage, which is going to be ticking on enemies, we want to buff that damage and buff the overall ability of our ultimate ground slam, right? Anima. Amara's status effects deal increased damage over time and have an increased duration. Her action skill status effects deals further increased damage. Okay, so it's buffing that corrosive damage by quite a bit. Steady Hands. Amara gains increased weapon handling and accuracy. Not really super useful for this build. Infusion. Converts a portion of damage dealt by Amara's weapons into her action skill element. So you're dealing more corrosive damage if you want. I would say go Anima all the way because that corrosive, again, is going to be melting people's faces off while you pound them into the sand. Second row. Amara deals increased elemental damage. Shock damage is further increased. Elemental damage could buff you quite a bit. Illuminated Fist. Amara gains increased melee damage, and melee damage is converted to action skill element. What? Are you serious? A buff to our melee again? Yes, get it. Wildfire. Whenever Amara applies a status effect, it has a chance to spread to nearby enemies. Now, Wildfire could be good, assuming it has a huge radius. Again, if it has a huge activatable area where it'll like jump from character to character, it's going to be good. But if it's just like a tiny little area around the enemy, I don't think it would be that beneficial to us. We want to put our remaining 4 points in this tier into Tempest. There you go. Now we're in the third row of the red tree. Again, you can change your elemental type to Incendiary here with Soulfire, but that's up to you. I think Corrosive damage is pretty fine in its own right. Corrosive has always been a pretty strong element in Borderlands. Alright, the next, we get the Eternal Fist. This is an action skill for the Fist tree, so we're not going to use that. Moving on to the only point in this tree, Dread. Amara's gun damage is increased after an enemy is grasped. Whenever a player kills a grasped enemy, okay, we don't grasp people, so I mean, we kind of have a problem here, right? We can't use this skill too much. Assuming it doesn't proc off of our skill we're currently using, we're just going to ignore it for now. Theorycraft, right? But this, Allure, Amara's action skill creates a singularity that pulls in enemies. Guys, this is what you want right here. Get that augment, because when you're jumping up to Kamehameha and you're pulling in everybody under that Kamehameha and then slamming it, oh yeah, singularity, baby. That is perfectly synergized with that. We do have to spend 5 points in this tree to get further down, so we're going to go back and we're going to convert all of our gun damage into corrosive damage. You're a corrosive machine, right? And then we have 7 points left, and we're going to go down here to one of Amara's best skills in the entire game, Indiscriminate. Amara's bullets have a chance to ricochet regardless of the manufacturer type, and it deals increased damage if you're affected by Phase Grasp. I mean, we don't have Phase Grasp or Stillness of Mind, but we're going to get it because ricocheting bullets are so amazing. Deep Well, Amara gains increased magazine size. If you never want to reload, you can just plop a point here. Catharsis. Whenever Amara triggers an elemental effect on an enemy, when that enemy dies, it explodes, dealing her attuned element damage. Yes, please. 2 points. So if you're singularitying people together and then blasting the crap out of them, then they're exploding. Oh, perfect synergize. And then your bullets will ricochet in between them all. So, I mean, she's like an AoE max clear. We only have 2 skill points left, and we're going to go down here to the last row, ignoring this ability, which is a fist ability. Sustainment. Amara gains lifesteal whenever she deals elemental damage. Lifesteal? Do you realize, guys, we have a ton of life. And lifesteal is going to keep us alive in this brawler build late game. So yes, we want to max this with our last 2 points. The other skill will apply random status effects to enemies, but we already have the status effects we want. We already deal whatever damage we need. So lifesteal is going to keep us in the fight. And that's the end of this build. You are singularitying people together, blasting them down, using your increased melee blitz to bounce between enemy and enemy and just crushing them with insane melee damage, all the while having a huge health pool, corrosively melting people, and just having a good time. And even if you go down, you still get back up. Tell me what you thought about this build. I will see you in Borderlands 3, guys.